rare event. We get, uh, being in upstate New York, we rarely get tornado warnings. But the day before they started, and then yesterday afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, it it was on the television a constant. Every 5 minutes, it felt like there was a warning. High winds, 50 to 75 mile an hour, straight line winds, tornado watch, and it's unusual for upstate New York. I mean, all the hills and
Yikes.
and valleys that we've got usually don't allow that to happen. I haven't heard that one touched down, but just south of us on the lake, a place called Aurora on Cuga Lake got clobbered a bit, had some trees down and branches down, and a lot of heavy rain in a hurry, which isn't a bad thing. The lake level is low, so that'll catch us up. But uh, today, back to a little bit of sunshine, thankfully. Looks like Mike's got a
Yeah.
lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
As much as I hate hurricanes, I think I like them better than tornadoes. At least you get ready for them. You know they're
right.
coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
We just got
Hurricanes the last
one.
couple years.
The only thing really we had was the heavy rain and one blast of lightning that, you never know where they hit, but it was light and thunder, you know, it seemed at the same moment, and the flash in the house. But no blink of the electricity didn't even notice, so it couldn't have been as close as it felt like, but it was intimidating.
in Portland, Oregon, when we hear thunder that one day a year, it's all the topic, all conversation. No thunder, no lightning, no tornadoes, no hurricanes. Occasionally a mountain blows up.
Yeah.
Oh, gee.
But that's every 100 years.
Occasional volcano.
Well, while we're talking, folks, I know some of you are just joining us. We're going to start right at noon with unlocking success one click at a time. So stay on board here, and we'll let the folks that have registered join in and start right on time. So
Could
welcome.
warm up their keyboards a little bit and get used to chat function. Maybe they can just tell us where they're or where they're hanging out at. Love to see who we're talking with.
Yeah, where are folks coming in from? Certainly feel free to put that in the chat.
Let's see.
And we'll talk about a couple of little directions once we get started here with the Q&A button and things like that. But hopefully we'll be starting right on time with a big crowd joining in.
It appears that I can only text between the panelists. I can't chat with anybody else. I don't know if that's Angela, something that we can break open or not, because I plan on sharing a few things with them. Or maybe I have to go over to the attendees. And now I got attendees here.
Yeah, give Angela a minute. I'm sure she'll get us figured out here. We are going to have a few QR codes on screen, and some other items. You might want to keep your phone handy at home, at your office or at home, where you can take a screenshot. Just hold your phone up, take a picture, an image of the slides that are on screen, so you can access that information. And we'll also be providing a recording of the webinar to everyone. I'll mention that again. But welcome everyone. We're thankful you're joining us in our webinar, Unlocking Success One Click at a Time. And I want to start off right away. We've got a great team with us today. We've got Bob McCann, Mike Markette, Jared Kelly, and Angela in the background, making sure that everything works for us. On your screen right now, there is a QR code, and I want to mention this right at the beginning. This webinar and the data we're going to share and the things that are going to happen in May are presented by and made possible by the MRAA Educational Foundation. You know, they're dedicated to advancing the recreational marine trades by providing essential financial support for education, training, and career development. You can learn more about them just by going right to that QR code. So we're going to jump right in and start to talk about what's coming and where we are, as well as some great data that the foundation helped us collect. I'm Bernie. I'm a fellow dealer here in upstate New York with a couple of locations. And I also am a part of the MRAA educational team. So I'm thankful to be here. As a dealer, and as you guys all know out there, it just seems like, you know, there are no COMCs, just as the slide points out. There are plenty of issues confronting us. Seems like coming from every direction. On the screen, there's a few of the things we're currently facing. And I'll be honest, I'm lucky to be a part of the MRAA, but we're all lucky to have the MRAA, the foundation, and the education champions that together give us opportunities to confront issues and to improve our dealerships. And it may be a little mushy, I guess is how I would put it. But when times get difficult, I kind of like to think of the MRAA as being for dealers, our lighthouse, kind of guiding the way through all of the issues, all the storms that we confront so regularly. And I think the reality is that we have to, as dealers, we have to be willing to see and look for the lighthouse, to look at the MRAA, and then to be willing to follow where that light is guiding us. Very mushy here, I know, but I want to put that out there. And I want to say, having you all join us tells me, and I think tells Bob and Mike and Jared and all of us, that you're at least willing to look at that light and say, hey, there might be something useful coming. And I can guarantee you there is, not just today, but throughout the month of May. So that's kind of the important part. And we want you to be able to unlock success throughout the whole month. So we're going to have webinars coming, a spotlight on our website that is going to be filled with information, micro learning, tools, data, and more. And I'm going to tell you more about that later on because we want to get you ramped up, prepared for the coming month. Really, the goal here is to empower you, to give you the best practices so that your digital marketing can be owned by you. And it's kind of an interesting statement. We want you to own your digital marketing. Now, by own, I do not mean that you're going to do everything. What we want is for you to, and me, and I'm learning every moment along with you, is we want you to understand digital marketing. We want you to understand the tools. We're going to provide the education and the support so you can control your digital marketing success. And we know, I know, I've lived it just along with you, that there are very serious concerns with digital marketing. And so to really understand the needs, the status, where everybody is, the MRAA Educational Foundation joined us and said, hey, we're going to support you and help you provide all of the benefits and the digital marketing education to the dealers. And I want to read this. I'm not going to read much. In fact, this will probably be about the only thing I read to you all today, but it's that important. The foundation's mission is to empower current and future marine professionals by investing in programs, scholarships, and initiatives that nurture the marine industry. I want you to know that They're really raising the awareness of specialized educational opportunities and institutions, industry experts, and state trade organizations. The foundation creates pathways for skill enhancement and professional growth that address both today's challenges and tomorrow's opportunity. Ultimately, our commitment is to fostering talent, and it not only enriches individual careers, but also strengthens the overall vitality and sustainability of the recreation marine community. They led this, they guided us, and they deserve to be recognized. I wanted you to know that right from the start. As a part of this puzzle, I'm going to turn things over to Jared here, but the foundation helped us do a survey. Many of you participated in it, I have no doubt, but it's called the Marine Industry Digital Marketing Report. And I'm going to turn it over to Jared here. He's going to share just a very small piece, actually, of the survey. All of it will be on Spotlight in May, but right now, let's dig in a little bit. And Bob, Mike, Jared, and I will talk over a little bit of the data that Jared's going to share. Jared?
That's right. Hey, thanks, Bernie. It's a privilege to actually work with this and create this report. And I thank the foundation for taking the initiative to do it, to gain the feedback of what dealers are doing to win in digital marketing, but also to show some shortcomings. It helps everyone, and I think that's the goal. There were three takeaways really that if you break everything down, the three takeaways are: significant number of dealers are not measuring their digital performance. There's a wide disparity in both marketing spend, from low budgets to high budgets that exceed $100,000 a year, and there's also a variance of preparedness. Like, are they even prepared to do digital marketing? Do they know what to do? How do they hand off, once they do a nice job of digital marketing, how do they hand that lead off then and to sales to get that to the results they need? And there's also a gap there. And the one thing I thought was interesting is that a lot of dealers that we surveyed tracked website traffic, but they did not track those leads that went to sales, the conversions of those leads. And I think there's a hole there. So as you can I talked about the gap here. I believe it was like, let me pull this up in here, but we'll share these numbers, like Bernie said, in the Spotlight, on the Spotlight page that'll be live tomorrow on our site. But 16% of those surveyed were around 50 to 100,000. But you also had 8% of the surveyed dealers going from 0 to 5. This is like, and Bob had pointed this out during a discussion we'd had, but this is an annual marketing budget. So you can see that there's a huge discrepancy in what you're doing annually in that. And I don't know, Bob, do you have anything you wanted to add to that? I know you mentioned that's a huge disparity.
Yeah, when you were looking at it, I thought that was the monthly, and then I saw that it was annually. So I saw that was some impressive numbers out there. There's some good effort going towards here. So obviously we need to make sure we're getting everything that we're paying for out there. I'm always concerned about the people that skipped it. 51% aren't sure what they're spending, which is I think you need to know what you're investing, so we make sure that we're getting the results that we're looking for.
Sure. And that kind of goes back to one of our earlier points of, not keeping track of some of that, or not knowing how to keep track necessarily. So
so I'm going to put the next slide up. And
okay.
This is the one where Jared's going to point some things out, and I think we can have an interesting discussion. So here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the one where we talked about, do you track lead conversions, and around 60% said yes. So there's already a 40% saying no. But then, like Bob said, there's a skip of 49. So they either don't know, or they aren't quite sure, or do you just consider them no because they didn't answer yes, right? So that makes that graph or that bar climb even higher. And we all talked about how that is definitely an area of improvement. And It's also kind of why both Bob and Mike are here to help improve that area of those lead conversion. Once you do a nice marketing campaign, then to hand off to sales and let that grow, and you get results you need then.
This is a small part of the data that's in the survey, but it's a very telling piece to me as a dealer. You know, the concern I have is that a big portion of dealers are spending $10,000 or more, a large percentage, and yet 40% aren't actually looking at what happened to that money. To me, that's what lead conversion is. In other words, I spent all this money to get somebody to reach out to us, to be interested enough to somehow become a lead. And then 4 out of every 10 of us didn't. And I mean, now and then, I'm sure that I fall into that boat where, do we really know what happened to every lead? 40% of us don't even track it. And I know even probably some of the 60% that do miss some of them, lose track of some of them. So before we even dive into how to do digital marketing, and we're going to talk about it today, we also have to deal with lead conversion as a piece of the puzzle that the data tells us a lot of us aren't taking care of.
Yeah, and a follow-up.
Bernie,
Go ahead, Bob.
Somebody just asked a question for about what, as dealers, where should we prioritize our digital marketing budgets? Where should we go for this? And that's the reason why you need the answer to this question, so that we can, at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, look and see where your traffic came from. You know, you've had a bunch of campaigns, you know which ones are performing, you know, the way you want them. Maybe some were a dud and some were better. I think you would probably learn a lot if you were to know at the end of a period of time how your marketing campaigns are working. Not just how much traffic they generated, but how many opportunities they generated and turned into sales. So
it's also interesting. I mean, I feel like that's a leading question for me and for Jared and the team that's working on the webinars that are coming up and the spotlight information, because at least one of the webinars, one of the pros that's joining us is going to talk about, how do you know where to put your money? Where are the best places, and who should you be targeting? So that makes me excited, because it tells me we're on track. The survey data that said some things to us, the education that's going to come from it in May is going to answer that first good question. You know, where do you put your money? Where do you spend it? And then, importantly, once you've put it there, tracking it at the end so you know what happened to it. That's great. Good question.
And
Mary makes a
tracking
good
is
point
key.
here, where it's not just one channel. Is that the golden ticket? It's omni-channel now. So people jump off one and jump onto another. Mike could probably talk all day about this. He's huge in this area. But that's something that we're going to be focused on for the month of May, is that we have to be able to, there's going to be people jumping online and want to continue down the line a bit, and then they're going to want to jump into the store, take a look at the boat, and then go home, think about it a little longer, jump back online. So we've very good point, Mary, is that it's not just one line. We've got to find out what's effective and work all of them.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the chat are filled with great tips. Looks like an old friend, Aaron Wyke, also shared a great tip in there to track conversions at multiple levels. So that's great.
Yeah, on that point of tracking at multiple levels, and the comment about, call tracking doesn't do it all, it's because Google will have attribution. The boat show, we saw phone calls there, boat traders chiming in with all their attribution, and it's crystal clear to a dealer exactly how they sold 50 boats to all these lead providers. The problem is they only sold 25 boats, right? So you have to break down the lead attribution, and to the input in the chat. You're right. It's just because you lay claim, one provider lays claim to the lead, it's not the only lead, right? Customers reach out through multiple channels to get to your dealership.
Absolutely. And you'll be able to find training, and we'll talk about it all in where you find those things on all of these aspects. And I think that's the key. The foundation has given us the opportunity, along with the education champions, to really refine and develop some of this education that we're going to be providing, and also to really target it for you. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it a little more. And in the meantime, the survey covered a lot of other items as well, Jared.
Yeah, Bernie, it talked about the website providers that people are using, the DMS third-party providers. There's a lot of that in there. And it talks, the thing that's cool, like, and you always talk about this, is it has data, but it also has a lot of comments. And some of those are self-confessional. Like they're saying, hey, we should be doing this, but I know we're not. And then laugh out loud. Like that's a comment that one of the comments I think that received, and to me, it was like, they're laughing at it, but they understand it's a weakness too. So it's not really a funny moment, but it kind of, because you see there's a pressing issue here. So I think there's definitely area improvement we've noticed.
Absolutely. I think one of the strengths of the Pulse report and then this survey, that we get the Pulse report monthly, but then we have this survey that came back and it really did have a good turnout, is so many dealers are willing to put in comments, positive ones, negative ones, and information on what they're using, that when I read through, oftentimes I'll either find a nugget that is, wow, I hadn't thought of that, or they'll mention a brand or a DMS or something that I've not ever heard of. So it gives guidance too. If somebody's out there using it and willing to make a comment about it, it's probably worth taking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to look over what that comment is. Where does it lead you? Kind of like back to the lighthouse. Where do those comments lead you? I know they led us in putting some of the education together, but as you go to the report that'll be in Spotlight, you can read through all of the comments that dealers made, and there are a lot of them, and a lot of very useful ones. So I think that is one of the big keys that we have in there.
Yeah, Bernie, there's a couple comments in there about using local companies. And, that's probably easily more accessible, possibly. You're able to meet in person, discuss things. I think some of the tips that are in there from these survey participants are nice to read through. So
again, I'm going to point this out a bunch of times because of how meaningful it's been. But again, thanks to the MRAA Foundation for helping us really complete that survey and to be able to provide it to you. As I've mentioned, the month of May is aimed at really providing details and answers to what we found in the survey, the story that the data told us, and where that led us. And now we're going to jump into the real meat of today, so to speak. We also want to make sure we're going to give you the tools to be successful in digital marketing. I believe that. I think everybody at the MRAA is on board with making sure you get those tools. But what we want to do today, quite honestly, is begin with the end in mind. So we're not going to dive into digital marketing until May. Bob's got a great quote that I put on the screen, and I like that a lot. But I'll be honest, I love analogies. I'm a track and field guy. And so what I wanted to kind of suggest is in May, we're going to give you a lot of tools. We're going to give you 3 webinars. And today, instead of jumping into digital marketing, we want our leadoff runner. We got a leadoff runner here that's going to put us in the lead right out of the gate. Second and third webinars are going to give you an even bigger lead. But without a great finish, we're still potentially going to fail. I don't want that to happen in my dealership. I know none of us want to be successful in digital marketing only to not finish off with a sale. Marketing success, I love that quote. Marketing success does not mean sales success. They're different. You know, one are those first 3 runners. Sales success is that last one that gets you across the finish line. So no matter how big of a lead your marketing gives you, that final step of making the sale, getting that phone call that finally comes to you, which you've worked so hard and spent so much potentially to get, well, you need to finish off strong. And so Bob and Mike, I'm going to let them take over, and we're going to begin with the end in mind today. Let's make sure that everything you're going to do in May pays off by starting today. Bob, Mike?
Sweet. Thanks, Bernie. Hey, do we have that poll that we could run to find out who our audience is?
Absolutely. I
So we're
jumped
going to
right
be
by
talking,
it.
while they're pulling up that poll, we're going to be talking about phone calls. Bernie asked me a couple weeks ago, he says, hey, we got this going on. It would be a good idea to start with, you know, making sure we're ready for the results that we would get from a good campaign. And the first thing I thought was, hey, the phones are going to ring. And if the phones are going to ring, I need to have somebody with me, my wingman, who have been dealing with phones for, I guess, almost 20 years now. It doesn't seem like that long, but we started putting some dates out there. We've been working together for 20 years. Mike Markette, he's my go-to for phones. You know, when we started this, we were trying to track where, you know, we didn't have digital marketing like we have today, but we had glossy magazines, we had websites, we had billboards. We just wanted to know where people were, where they saw our ads. So we went to Mike, and he got us unique phone numbers to do that. And then we needed to start recording phone calls. Mike was our go-to guy for that. Then we needed to start mystery shopping. Mike has been my go-to guy for that. So Mike, tell us about a little more about Mike.
Yeah. So a lot of people may recognize some companies found it, call button, call review, been in this call monitoring analytics space for like 25 years. I'm maybe more commonly known as a tracking number slumlord, perhaps. But you know, it's what the bottom line is. Yes, we've listened to just thousands and thousands and tracked millions of calls to and from marine dealerships over the past 20, 25 years. And I'm looking forward to sharing what we've learned.
Cool. Thanks. We'll hear a lot more from Mike here in a few. Can we can go to the next slide, and also, do we know the answer to the poll question by any chance?
Yes, it looks like, Bob, 41% of the folks joining us have a marketing focus in their dealership. 15% are managers, 22% are owners. We've got a group from about 20% other supporters of the industry, and only a small portion are salespeople. So,
Excellent.
you know, we're going to be focusing on the phone call, that final step. I want to let everybody know, especially the marketing focused people, that at the end of Bob and Mike's piece, we are going to dig in on what's coming in May. So don't go anywhere, because this is going to be great stuff.
Not at all. So I just wanted to start off with, you know, the whole month is going to be around marketing. And it's always like, marketing is supposed to serve up opportunities for sales. Sales is supposed to take those opportunities and run with them and close them. So, however, we just don't feel like we're going to get across the finish line by just having marketing success. We've got to be able to, we feel like if you've got a good marketing campaign going on, your phones are going to start ringing, your inboxes will start getting full, and more people will walk in through the front door. We're just going to focus today on those phone calls and make sure that we're ready for them, and try to maximize every opportunity that comes into your dealership via phone. So if we go to the next slide, we've got a few pointers. Number one is, you know, that marketing success isn't the finish line. But number two, these phone calls are absolutely the, this poll keeps coming up in front of me, are the essential bridge that is going to take that opportunity that the marketing department generated and now is handing it off to sales. So Mike, why do these customers even pick up the phone and call? Why don't they just come into the dealership?
Yeah, it's changed since we first started, when there was just a picture of a boat 25 years ago, and everything was done over the phone call before coming in. Now today you can do so much online. Now when you're calling in, you are pre-qualifying your experience, right? You want to know specifically that the boat is available, it's ready for a walk around, right? You might have a couple other specific questions, especially if it's on, specific used inventory. But nowadays, it's less of broad discovery and it's more of final qualification, right? If you give me the good impression, you can answer my questions, and this boat is indeed in the circle of what I'm looking for, then I'm going to come in.
Absolutely. So it is that perfect bridge that gets people over to the showroom big time. One of the things that we've been talking about for years, and it's not just today, it's happened over the years. So I wanted you to talk about it as well today. Bernie, next slide, is I am just always surprised at the number of phone calls that don't reach the intended target, which is the salesperson.
This keeps me in business. It's a constant effort to chip away. And by the way, the news is worse than this. And I'm glad there's such a big marketing audience, because on that marketing sales handoff, I tend to always fall into more in the marketing camp. And here, 50% of Google listings are inaccurate, especially for dealers who move from winter to summer hours. You may not even get a phone call because somebody looks at Google Places or Google My Business and it says you're closed, when in reality you change your hours and you open an hour earlier, and you're curious why your phones are so quiet during that first hour. So this doesn't represent all the opportunity to engage with more phone customers. So yes, 8% miss, another 11% hang up on hold. Half of people who hang up on hold do it by the 30-second hold mark. So they're not waiting around long. So I'm happy to dig into some of these, bubbles that we see on screen, but really for the marketing folks, especially, June, July, and August are about 40% of all your call volume for the year. They're the busiest. Sometimes we call May Fix the Phones month, right? Because we have to get ready for what's coming. And we'll share with you some assets after this and resources, and I can give you an over-engineered 12-step process for capturing sales leads over the phone. Most dealers have a phone process by default. So if there's one best practice to deliver now, it's make sure your dealership has a practice that when somebody calls for sales, you choose your word tracks. Oh yes, I'd be so thrilled to introduce you to our sales team. Ask who's calling, and you log that customer's name, you log their phone number, hopefully on your caller ID handset. And step 2 of that process is at some point during that day, the sales manager sees that sales lead. So they can go to the team and follow up. Or if they hung up on hold or hit a voicemail and didn't leave a message, and nobody in the sales department knows about this sales call, well, you have the information to re-engage that customer.
Bingo. So
It's painful to look at those numbers. It seriously is. It's painful because, and maybe can you tell me? I mean, I'm asking a question. 39% of our folks are unable to answer questions. What have you? I mean, is it the lack of knowledge? Is it a lack of knowing how to handle the call? What? That's such a massive chunk of people we lose there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of all the above. I mean, sometimes in, larger boats, you might have brand specialists, right? So I know this make and that broker's not available. We're courteous in here. If it's old school sales tactics, sometimes it's agent chooses not to answer the questions. Especially if it's around price or something, you got to come in for the best price. So this bubble is a large bubble. But I'll throw something else interesting to you, because we also measure web leads. It's just the opposite in web leads, where 60% of the time they don't answer the questions because they don't know where to find the question. So when it comes to customers asking dealers, it's the biggest challenge that you have. And of course, we want systems that show us those questions. And then on the phone, we need access to systems to help answer those questions. So this is the largest skill opportunity. The nice thing about the others, the missed calls, the on-hold hangups, this is largely process. It's easier to make a change, and it has a high impact. The agent unable to answer questions, that's going to be more effort, more training to help in your dealership.
But when you do the math, the phone rings and rings and rings, nobody picks it up 8% of the time, and then 11% put you on hold, and then they forget about you. And sales call line 1, they hang up, they go back to working in the parts department, and nobody ever gets back to them. That's another 11%. And then 26%, hey, we don't have a salesperson available, we'll call you back. Yep. And we've been saying for years now, you have to, when you get a web lead, you want to call right away because it's a good time for them to talk. Right? And now it's a good time for the customer to talk, and we can't get to them. And it has a lot to do with seasonality, but we got to think about that. When we go to boat shows, we know that we're going to get a lot of people at the boat show and in a weekend. So we're going to make sure that we have it staffed properly so that we don't lose opportunities to talk to people. But there's a lot more. When you do the math, 26, 11, and 8 is beyond the 39%.
Right. So the exclamation on that point, Bob, is yes, this is the low-hanging fruit. This is more at bats. We don't have to get any better, and we're going to engage with more customers. And again, I put this on marketing. It's in their best interest, again, to make sure that there's that phone process to capture every lead and ensure it's followed up on.
Right. And Mike made a point that I hope you guys picked up on it. I know a lot of us are seasonal dealers, especially you guys up north. You've been enjoying the winter hours. Now you're going to go to seasonal hours. Make sure that you update Google My Business. So I know the other day I wanted to go to a lunch at a place, and it was a new place, wanted to know if they were open for lunch. It said they were open for lunch. When I got there, a sign on the door, they weren't open for lunch. So frustrating to customers, and it's not a good step. So there's tiny little best practice that you could probably do to get out there. So let's move along to number 1, building rapport. For you guys, salespeople, the 3% are out there. The rest of you guys are coaching the salespeople. You're probably telling your salespeople to build rapport, build rapport, build rapport. Nothing's changed. But the easiest way to build rapport in this small piece of it is basically answering the customer's questions. Customer calls, has a question. We got to be prepared to answer that question and answer it directly, fully, and then search for more questions that you can ask the customer. So that's the number 3, is just making sure that we're building rapport. And the easiest way to do that is simply answer the question, or as Mike would say, handle the call. Yeah. So let's pop over to the next slide. What we tried to do here is to make things as simple as possible. And so we put it into a 3 easy steps to handle a phone call. There are some serious trainers out there on the phone. Tom Stuker comes to mind. He's a guy you can go and spend $3,000 with and go to his place out there in Scottsdale, and he will teach you a bunch of word tracks. You're going to have to memorize them. You're going to have to learn them. Frankly, the only people I've ever seen do really good with them are the actual instructors. I've never seen somebody come out of school and be able to hit on all those word tracks real well. I just think it's simple, and it's easy to teach. It's easy to remember for the salespeople, and it's easy for you guys to coach. So when you're listening to a phone call, you can say, hey, did they do number 1? Did they do number 2? And did they do number 3? It's simple as that. Mike has a great story about phone calls. It all starts at the beginning. Mike, tell us about when we learned to handle a phone call.
I think we learned the basics of phone call handling in kindergarten, right? Which is, be nice, introduce yourself, have a conversation, answer questions, be polite, use words like or phrases like "whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with." That's really the basics of it, and somehow we've evolved over the years across the dealership in different departments to one of my favorites, which is parts hold. So we can do better, but everything does start with that greeting, that first impression.
It just hits me that, yep, we had our first training on the phones in kindergarten, and I think most of us have had little or no training since then on how to make that phone call even more effective. So let's dive in. Let's go over to number one is to make them happy they called, is kind of the way I put it, is make sure that when they hang up that phone, it was good use of their time. Okay, that's step number one. So create a positive experience by answering their questions and whatnot. And so what we've done here is I'm going to pull out the thing that salespeople hate the most, but I put it in a little bit of a different format so you don't really have to call it if you don't want to call it a script. But salespeople don't typically like to be script. They'd like to be maybe guided a little bit. So I'll call this a guide if you want. Bernie, if you just pull it over so they can see it. What we did is we put this together in Word. And the reason why we put it in Word and not just, print it out in a PDF or something like that is so that you can use this and at your dealership, go in and put the name of your dealership in and give it to your salespeople. They put their names into it, put their own vernacular in here so it sounds like them. But basically, it's a guide. We start off with the greeting. We have a little smiley face. You might even put a smiley face on all your phones. Smile before you dial, smile before you pick up the phone type thing, right? Big time is to fully answer the customer's question. That's goal number one. You got some notes here. My suggestion is have a pile of these on a salesperson's desk. So when they do take a sales call, they can just throw this down, have something to write on and guide them along the way. And then over the right side, you can see a lot of you guys use the acronym format. So while we're answering their questions, we might want to jump in and ask a little more about their family, where they work, how they use their boat. Is it fishing? Is it for going out there and pulling your kids behind in a tube? How are you using it? What's their motivation? You're trying to find out if they're Trevor the Terror, or are they Bill and Betty Buyer? Are they comfort and convenience? Are they quality and design? So that you can kind of keep talking to that. Obviously, are they taking animals? They taking dogs with them when they go boating, and then maybe their favorite teams. So those are those personal questions that you're using to build rapport with this customer. And then we're going to go into number 2 and number 3, which is basically ask who they're talking with. And then 3, ask them to visit the showroom. So we're going to share this with you. In fact, I'm going to throw it into the chat right now. I think if I just drag and drop it, you guys will have it. It says network is disconnected. That's not good. I don't know what we did wrong there. But our intent is to share this with you, and we'll do what we can to get it out to you right now. We're also, Jared is going to put this in a spotlight so you can have it, so you can download it and upload and fix it up for your dealership and then use it at that point. Anything we need to go further on step number 1, Mike, that I may have forgotten about, other than making sure we answer the customer's question and focus on that excellent customer service?
Those are the basics. I think we go to the next slide and we start to get into a little bit more.
And so number 2, between Mike and I can't even fathom. I don't even come close to what Mike has listened to, the number of phone calls that we listen to. And we'll hear this great conversation. And the first part of it, number 1, perfect. They've answered every question. These guys are the buds. I mean, absolute friends on the phone call. And then it ends with, okay, when you come in, make sure you ask for me, and we hang up. I swear the 2 people don't know each other's names right now at this point, after listening to a 5, 6, 7, 10-minute conversation. Mike has some other ways that he hates to see phone calls in that you might share with you.
Yeah, it's the same vein with ending the call, and what you'll hear is, well, thank you. And then customer says goodbye and dealer says goodbye and they hang up. But when you hear that, well, thank you, goodbye, what that's telling you is it was an engaging conversation. And in reality, the customer ran out of questions to ask. They don't know the next question to ask. They've learned so much. Maybe they'll learn a little earlier in the buying funnel, and they have to go, and they don't want to sit there in awkward silence. They have to go kind of digest everything they've heard and then re-engage. Hopefully they re-engage you. So that's the perfect time to ask and confirm contact information. And as the dealer, ask the questions, be a consultant. No, if not on that phone call, that's your follow-up call. Because any follow-up you do, you want it to be relevant and contextual to the prior call. So that's just a clue when you hear thank you, goodbye, goodbye. The customer is going to develop more questions.
Bingo. And it's just, you've earned the right to ask at this point. You've had a great conversation. Don't forget to ask. If you guys are listening to phone calls, so you've listened and you see that the customer is in the salespeople, or they're getting along well, they're answering the customer's questions. So we're doing that well. Now we're looking for the salesperson to simply ask what their name is. And we want to get an email address along with the phone number that we already should know because of caller IDs pretty much telling us who's calling each and every time. You just want to make sure that that's a good phone number to call.
Yeah, and in today's duplex world, Bob, now it's easier and more convenient for both parties to collect that email address to say, hey, can you text me your email address? For the dealer saying, would you text me your email address? So now you have a initiated text from the customer. You have their email in that text. You don't have to go back and forth on how to spell it. It's all in the customer's hands. It's, we need to take advantage of texting and phone calling by asking the customers to reach out to us.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people on this phone call, especially your salespeople, will tell you texting is it. It's a game changer, but we can't forget about the power of the phone. It's hard. When we do sessions on interviewing the customer, we go for a long time with a lot of salespeople in the room saying, these are all the things that I need to know from a customer before I could probably help them buy a boat. And the list gets pretty long. I don't know how you can get all that information with your phones, typing back and forth and texting, or even on email. Those are good conversations for the phone. And of course, in person, if you can get them into the dealership. So if we're start seeing way too much texting where we could pick up the phone, that's why you guys are coaching your team to make sure that they use the phone at the right and appropriate time. So
I really like when a salesperson on the phone will say, hey, before I let you go, what way do you prefer that I contact you?
Bingo.
Because then I can say, stop calling or stop emailing, text me, or whatever I prefer. So that's kind of an important step that I enjoy is, I can tell them, don't do that, do this. Makes me happy.
But at some point, there might be a time where you really have to create desire. You've got to tell some stories and those things. So you have to get back on the phone or get them into the dealership, one or the other, to do that. So the texting is good. Hey, I've got some good information for you. A little too much to put into a text. Are you available this afternoon at 2 or 3? So it's a very good tool to get somebody on the phone as well. That's another whole session. We're here talking about the inbound call at this point, but we'll love to jump into those areas as well. So the third step is now we've got to get this customer closer to the boat, obviously, right? So we should guide our conversation towards how cool the boat is, and you're going to love it when you see it, and those things. And then if we can get out in the boat, get them on a sea trial, get them on a test drive, whatever it takes to get them closer to us is what the focus will be. The challenge here is if we don't ask, there's no danger of it ever happening, for the most part. Although, if you have a very engaged customer and they are excited about this boat and you now confirmed the questions that they have and they're positive, A, you have it, B, the price is working or whatever, then they're going to want to come in. They're going to probably want to set the appointment for you. Mike, is there anything other than asking for the appointment that helps get more appointments?
Listen, the underlying purpose of the phone call is to, develop trust. You have a few minutes to develop trust. The customer wants a trusted advisor. Kind of, it's a little trite, but they don't want to be sold a boat. They want help buying a boat. And when you demonstrate active listening, answer their questions, ask questions of the customer, 85% of the time they ask for the appointment. So it's really, when done right, the appointment falls into place. And by asking for the appointment as a best practice in those 50% of times where they don't offer it themselves, Well, that's going to reveal the reasons why. It's very hard for somebody to say, no, I don't want to come in and I'm not telling you why, right? And that
Right.
furthers the conversation. And at the end of it, they may not set the appointment, but at least you understand why they're not moving to the next step.
Great points. And it's not that we might not get together, but we just don't know the date and time they're going to come in. And as a salesperson, you'd hate to be out to lunch or have a day off or with another customer and have this customer show up and you can't even take them. You're going to have to give it to another salesperson, split a deal, something like that. That's dreadful. So making sure that you've got a day and time. So when the customer says, hey, I want to come, or when would you come in to see the boat? Is today or this week, or is this weekend better? Or if it was closer to the weekend, this weekend or next week better? Great, beginning or end of the week. Just give them some choices to get down to a day and a time so that you're ready for the customer when they come in the dealership. And there's more to it. You should be following that up and confirming that appointment as well. So just to kind of put this into a nutshell, again, the 3 steps are to create that positive experience. Make sure you answer the customer's questions. Number 2, you've built some trust now. You've earned the right to ask with their name, their email address, and confirm that phone number that they're talking to you on. And then number 3 is simply ask for the appointment. Ask for the time for them to come into the showroom or meet them at the dock, take them for a ride, whatever the next step might be. But let's put a date and time to that rather than this. Guys, if you could just focus on appointments in your dealership, like today is Wednesday morning, we're ready to go to work. It would be nice to look over at my wall and know how many appointments are coming in here today. How many appointments are coming from phone calls? How many appointments are coming in from web leads? How many appointments are coming in from B-backs? People that have already been to the dealership. The sales team has done a great job following up, and they're coming in today at 2 o'clock to look at this particular unit. Then you know if you're going to have a good day or not. If you're sitting there and there are no appointments, you pretty much are going to we're going to be working on make appointments rather than working on appointments. We know if appointments come in, they sell at an incredible higher rate than the ones that just walk in for the first time. All righty. So let's go to number 5, which is training this stuff. We've been, again, listening to phone calls for a long time. And Mike, as I mentioned, for years, we've had dealers that say, hey, we want to record our phone calls and those kind of things. And he's got that technology, and boy, is that evolved. And he'll tell you a little more about that now. But when we listen to phone calls or when we record phone calls, that's the easy part. The challenge is listening to the phone calls, listening to them. And if you're a busy sales manager and you're putting out fires here and you're getting ready for boat shows, I mean, you got a tall order in a dealership to get this stuff done. To stop and start listening to phone calls can take a little bit of time, you know. So I find the best way to do that is to actually listen to the phone calls with your sales team right there. Now, when you do that, somebody's going to be in the hot seat because that phone call is going to be handled by somebody in the room. And then we listen to the phone call, and then we all look at that person and say, how did you do? And they'll typically be the most critical of their performance right now. And then you go around the room and get some more input. And by the time that phone call and that critique is over, there's been a lot of listening. And you do that 2 or 3, 4 times a week, you will learn a lot about handling phone calls. But we've taken this to the next level. Mike is now, AI is involved in almost everything we do nowadays. And so listening to phone calls is even made easier. Tell us about that, Mike.
We do have a little custom GPT now where you can take an audio file, you can load it up, and from a marine dealer sales perspective, it will come back with a narrative, a little scorecard, and some feedback about that phone call. And this is really designed for the person who handled the call. So now, rather than taking out time of day, this becomes a little 5-minute self-assessment. It's free. We encourage you to take advantage of it. And what we usually find is that the person who handles the call is the hardest on themselves. We'll actually say, no, I thought you actually handled that objection pretty well while they're beating themselves up. So that's a tool that's out there for you. Now, but before we get there, again, because that's a skill set, right? And we uncovered so many call fail points that had nothing to do with skill had to do with technology or process. So I would say a homework assignment for you is work with the MRAA to do this for you, or just on your own, go to your Google Hours, submit a lead, call your dealership, right? And have a conversation as if you were a mystery shopper almost. See if they captured your name, your phone number, see if you were able to connect to a sales associate right away. Kind of document your experience and then think back, is this the experience I want? Bob talked about appointments and shows and expected showroom visits, which are all wonderful metrics for a dealer. But when you call your dealership, measure it to the metrics that customers measure you by. Were you transparent, right? Did you acknowledge? Did you actively listen and answer my questions? Those are the metrics that, if customers were at home, that's what they'd have on their big board, are those items. So kind of 2 steps: evaluate your processes before the phones get busy, and 2, send over those call recordings and we'll help you coach your team.
Thanks, Mike. Excellent, excellent points. Let's go over to our last point, which is follow-up making the difference. I don't know how many of you guys are using CRMs out there. There's one there. I know maybe everyone has one. Are you really using it effectively? That's another webinar for us. But one of the things, the job isn't over of handling a phone call until that phone call has been documented in the CRM. So we've had a good phone call. Early on, Mike suggested that, hey, when the phone call comes in, your reception or person logs that phone call as 1252. I'm transferring over to Mike right now. Here's the phone number. And I have a list of the phone calls that came in today asking for a salesperson, not a particular salesperson, but just a sales call. Now, at the end of the day, the sales manager, one of you, the majority of the people that are in this conference right now, should be looking at the CRM and looking at that call and see that we had 2, 3, 4, 5 calls today. Are they in the CRM? All right. So once they're in the CRM, then we should follow up. And for you sales folks that are out there, we only got a few of you, but I'm speaking to you. Do this for pure selfishness. Okay. When you're talking to a customer and you've done a very good job on creating a good rapport, and you created desire, and that customer now comes into the dealership, but the entire conversation was handled when that customer was driving and never wrote your name down, and now they walk into the dealership and they can't remember your name. I know there's probably a whole bunch of other salespeople around you. They'll be happy to help them, right? So you want them to come in and ask for you. The best way to do that is to follow up with an email or a text right now and say, thank you for the conversation. And we're going to go ahead and put of course, your email signature on that email that goes to them, which will serve as your electronic business card. I don't think many of you probably would attend a boat show or hang around in the showroom visiting with customers and not give them a business card on the way out when they're leaving the dealership. Same thing should here. So we're going to do this again. Chances are, it seems like we're having a bandwidth issue or something where we can't get this through the chat. It's because we have so many people, and it's awesome. It's almost like dealer week in April or May here. This is nice. And so we'll get you this template. Here's a simple template. Thanks for calling the dealership. And we'll put it in Spotlight so you can download it, and each of you can have your own. You can put it in your CRM so everybody can use it, or salespeople, you can develop your own. But make sure that you follow up with
It'll be
customer,
downloadable,
right?
so you guys can, format it into your own dealership's specific information. But we'll get those to you probably in Spotlight, and maybe we can get the links into the recording as well so that you can get it one way or the other.
All right. Excellent. So thanks for listening, guys. There's just 6 things that, as Mike said, maybe some homework out there to do to make sure that you're ready for the season, ready for your marketing campaigns to pay off. Hopefully you picked up a thing or two. I'm not expecting you to go out and do 6 things exactly, as we prescribe them, but if there was a nugget or 2 that you can pick up and go and sell an extra boat, we're happy to have spent the time with you. Thanks for the opportunity, Bernie.
Thanks,
And
Bob
Mike.
and Mike. Much appreciated. So, in a sense, we've begun with the end in mind. Hopefully, we're lining up what it's going to take once your digital marketing is successful. what I want to do quickly is talk about what's coming. In other words, we're lined up at the starting gun, and you got to get ready at the starting line, and that's where we are right now, right before we enter May. So again, the Educational Foundation has helped put this together. They're helping us with the entire month of May, and they totally get all of the scholarships, all of the education that they help us develop is done through donations. There's a QR code on the screen. If you've liked what Bob and Mike have shared, please feel free to donate. We'll put this up again. I think you're going to love what's coming. And let us tell you a bit about that, starting with that big bright light, that lighthouse, Jared Handel's spotlight. And here's a little bit of what's coming there. There we go.
Can you hear us, Jared?
Yeah,
Yes,
I got you
Jared.
guys. I thought Bernie was going to advance the slide one more, maybe.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So there's a digital marketing survey, as we talked about. You're going to get that. We dug into the Pulse report that we asked specific questions about this and produced an infographic on that. There's a 10-year analysis from one of our partner members, our strategic partners, and there are 5 additional partner contributions. There's an SEO improvement blog from our in-house marketing team of Bob Stanky and Gabrielle, and they provide a checklist that partners with that you can download to in an Excel document that'll help you both track and assign. So you have some more, you can streamline your processes. And there'll be a few other things, including micro courses that will be in our new LMS. We talked about a new LMS. Some of you have heard about that. It's going to be launching soon, but within there and within some of what we heard from dealers was, hey, we want to learn quicker. We don't have 60 minutes to learn. What about 15? Okay, perfect. We have that coming up, and it's going to be on those topics, those digital marketing topics. So
items on that list that I want to just point out is the online boat marketplace directory. You're going to be able to go through so many of the online boat marketplace providers and literally compare them. Look at what they provide, what they do, all the details in one location. So that's going to be a hugely helpful tool for everyone. And that'll be on Spotlight, downloadable. You can view it, take a look. And this is all coming in May. I also want to point out the webinars that are coming. They are going to be powerful. On April 7th, we've got Jeremy and Marcus both talking about AI. Jeremy is not just with Waveguide Consulting. He's been a dealer. He's going to provide the boots on the ground information. And you've probably seen Marcus at Dealer Week, read one of his books, seen him in our LMS. He's incredible. They know so much about AI, but more importantly, they know a lot about AI as it applies to us as dealers. So please join us for that one. On the 14th, one of the survey items that came up again and again was, I just need to understand digital marketing and the data and what it tells me. We had that one question earlier about targeting. Who do we target? What program do we use? And this is the one where Tim Schmidt from Octane Marketing is going to help all of us do that targeting and understand the data, as well as looking at Google ads and SEO. So he's on track to provide a fantastic webinar on the 14th. And then our April 21st webinar, again, Danny Decker and Sean Horsfall combining. Danny is a fantastic marketing agent. He has been at Dealer Week, provided tremendous education. And at the same time, we're going to have Sean. And I don't know if you visited his website. If you haven't, do it. We're not saying that we expect all of us as dealers to achieve what Sean has with his digital marketing and his website. You can see it's basically incredible by the numbers, but we can learn some of what he does and utilize it to strengthen our dealerships. So all three of the webinars, I think, are going to be powerful and insightful. And what I want to say about Spotlight and the webinars and what Bob has just provided, and Mike, is that they're all going to do what MRAA does best, and that is to provide you really implementable tools and learning so that you're not just hearing it, but you can go back to your dealership and put it to work. And that's even going to hold true with the micro learning that Jared mentioned. Here are some of the topics, the topics that are going to be part of micro learning. If you haven't done micro learning, think of Reels or YouTube Shorts. These are really brief, focused education. It's not going to be an hour of your time or more. It's going to be more like 15 minutes, give or take, sometimes quite a bit less. And along with that, you're going to get tools, downloads that are implementable. So you can take it, sit down at your desk and say, here's what I'm going to do with that information I just heard, and put it to use in your dealership. So I just want you to know what's coming. You know, we've set that end result. You know, what do we want you to be able to do at the end when that phone call comes in? Now, throughout May, I'm going to learn, you're going to learn, we're all going to have the opportunity to take ownership of our digital marketing through understanding it, where to get the data that we need to have, and then the tools to implement really successful learning. One other piece that I want to really point out is many of you already have access to Amy, their artificial intelligence for marine industry education. Go to MRAA.com, click on Ask Amy, and here's an example. Bob earlier today put in, how can I track my web leads? Obviously, that kind of fits with our webinar today. And within seconds, here's the response that Amy gave us. Centralize your lead resources, publish a lead fulfillment policy, leverage analytics. All of those things, of those 5 items, you're going to learn some about in the webinars, in microlearning, and at Spotlight. But with Amy, in addition, she, at the bottom of that, you can see the links to the education from marine subject matter experts that you can then go to and learn even more. Do you need to? Not necessarily, but if you want to, you can. And what I'll say about Amy that's different than going to ChatGPT is everything in her knowledge base is based upon marine education. It didn't go find something in the auto world or the RV world or the some other recreational activity and say, hey, that's a great thing for marine to do. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. With all of Amy's knowledge, we know it was developed to aim at marine dealers. So let's finish up here. I've talked a lot about the educational foundation, but I also want to note our education champions. They provide the ongoing support that fuels MRA's ability to build and deliver educational programming. Realistically, these partners provide us the opportunity in the MRAA to get you publications, webinars, tools, resources, online courses, Dealer Week, and more. So a really gigantic shout out to all of those partners. And I want to thank each of them and their companies for their ongoing support. So folks, to end our day today, let's remember, click on all of those items that are coming to you in May to get successful. And we've started with the end in mind. Marketing success is not sales success. You know it, I know it, and I think Bob and Mike have given us the ability, and you're going to get more downloads on how to make sure that everything we do in May for marketing ends up in a sale, that successful end. So thank you so much for joining us. If you want to contact any of the four of us, take a shot. Our emails are there. Feel free to reach out at any time for more details. All of us are willing to help and to learn and to share the input that you want to provide to us or answer the questions you have for us. Have a great day. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again on April 7th, May 7th. Get that right. May 7th, guys. See you soon. Bye now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.